Merry Christmas, Happy Yule, Happy Saturnalia. Let me get my Santa hat on. I love it. Do you guys love it? I absolutely love it. So, welcome to December's Sacred Sexuality EDU series. I am sending this out to everyone who's in a paid tier on my Patreon, regardless of the tier. I know it's normally a $25 a month or more thing, but it's Christmas. Let's have fun. I'm taking things in a little bit of a different direction this month. I wanted to kind of do like this magical fashionista presentation, blending together astrology, elemental magic, beauty spells, glamour magic, because everybody has big events coming up, right? Next week is New Year's. Lots of people are going out, dressing up, hosting parties. So let's enchant our wardrobe and adornments and our hair and our makeup and let's use and abuse the energy, you guys. It only comes around one time a year. So let me pull up the PowerPoint and we'll jump right into it. All right. Let's pull her up. All right. Ooh, getting ahead of myself. All right, you guys. Let me make myself a little bit bigger here. Here we go. All right. So, Sacred Sexuality, or EDU series, we are doing the Holiday Glam edition today, you guys. Holiday Glamour. You can actually use this on the day to day. You have a date night, you have a special event coming up, but it is the holidays, so let's run with it and have a little fun. And let's move me again. I'll be moving myself a lot this presentation. All right, Magickal Fashionistas. We all are magical fashionistas. This presentation, I'm really going to kind of break down Western astrology, some elemental astrology or Chinese astrology. I'm going to tell you how to integrate your sparkle, how to make vestments of power, the emanation of you with your adornments, using heirlooms, gemstones, empowerment rituals. We're gonna hit all of the nail heads with the hammer today, you guys. So let's jump into it. All right, so we're going to, of course, start this off like I usually do. I want you guys to do some digging, some inner work. So there's a couple of journal exercises. You can come back to these later if you want, but I'm going to roll them out. You each are a frequency, in each one of us resides this deep desire to be seen. We do long for our beauty to be expressed in a way that others, kind of glimpse our essence. And one of the most potent tools we have at our disposal to do that, to clarify and enhance our energetic frequency, and subsequently attract the things we want, is in our closets, you guys, our clothes, how we wear them. There are very few inanimate objects that have more power over us, honestly. So let me move this mouse because it's irritating me. Okay. This first exercise is to help you identify what is your unique essence. Of course, I'm going to bring astrology in it in a minute, but let's just start simple. So there's 10 questions here. If you could be any animal, what would you be? What are the qualities you admire about that animal? Who are 3 people that you really admire, and who are 3 people that you're maybe a little jealous of? I want to know 3 dead celebrities that you wish you could have hung out with. What are 3 qualities you would like to embody that those dead celebrities perhaps have? What are 3 cities you would like to visit or move to? What are 3 qualities that you wish people would use to describe you, even if you don't embody them right now? And if you were a flower, what would you be? And what are 3 qualities you admire about this flower? It's a fun little simple exercise, but this journal exercise can really help you tap into what your unique essence is. So let's move forward. All right. So your responses to those questions could indicate part of your inner essence. Now, the question is, does your outer expression reflect this? Now, if you said you wanted to visit India, do you listen to Indian music? Do you watch Bollywood movies? Do you even wear bangles? Or if you noted that you were jealous of, say, Angelina Jolie, do you have at least one sleek black dress in your closet? Because often jealousy disappears when we claim the parts of our personality that the object that we are jealous of represents. So think about that for a minute. We're going to get into that a little bit deeper later today. But if you mark that you're related to lilacs, does your wardrobe, your garden, the perfume you wear reflect this? So the reason I'm asking this is because when our inner and outer realities match, Our goals become clearer. We manifest our desires much more easily. Life kind of becomes amplified and everything just becomes a lot more fun, right? Because we're living in our truth. And since what we wear is literally sitting on the border between our inner and outer realities, our fashion choices are a really powerful way to get them in alignment. So, next journal exercise. Dress for the life you want is what I'm calling this. 5 questions. What do you want to experience in your career? How would you like to creatively express yourself? What do you want to experience in your love life? What types of recognition and success do you crave? What does your ideal financial situation look like? We're going to fine tune things here, you guys. Don't worry, we're going to get into spells. Just bear with me. Now, do your clothes help you feel as if these conditions to these journal questions are already in place in your life? Because if not, or if you could use a little fine tuning, which all of us can, I want you to keep these goals in mind as we go through this in presentation. I want you to write down any sudden bolts of inspiration you may have. So make sure you have a pen and a pencil or paper or something handy. So the next thing, this is kind of like, it's not a journal exercise. It's an assignment. I give assignments sometimes. I want you to make a personal essence playlist. Now, shamans and mystics of all varieties have incorporated music into their healing practices since time immemorial. That is true. Consider that in cinema alone, in films, music can turn any scene, really. It could be a flat scene into a funny scene, a terrifying scene, a scene that makes you cry. Music does that, right? Remember The Lion King? I went to go see The Lion King. This was years ago. And in those opening credits, my friend's mom started crying just with the opening credits, you guys, because of that music, the opening of The Lion King. So it's just an example. But to begin to get more familiar with your essence and to smooth the transition to a more harmonious synchronization of your inner and outer realities, I want you to create a personal essence playlist. Just pick 8 to 12 songs, right, that embody the qualities, the energies, and the conditions you described in these previous journaling exercises. Just start somewhere, anywhere. Look for songs that click for you and help you feel empowered and brave. For me, I think I've talked about in previous presentations, I like Enigma, Enya, Tangerine Dream. I like Danny Malone. I like Blue October. They all have fabulous music that I use for my magic. All right, where are we? All right, another journal exercise. Bear with me, you guys. All right, you are a work of art. We all are. You always look beautiful, always. If something doesn't look right, it's the outfit that doesn't really live up to your beauty, not the other way around, because you are a natural setting. So for this journal exercise, we are going to talk about if you were a natural landscape, where would you be? And this is important to kind of dig in deep to what our essence is. Would you be a field of flowers surrounded by grass that has turned gold in the sun? Use visualizations, you guys. Be very, very detailed. Are you an aqua blue ocean lapping at fine white sand? Are you a forest of cedars? You can almost smell it, right? Are you a rolling sand dune in the desert? A rocky cliff in the snow? Sunshine glittering on an alpine lake? An underwater kelp forest, the Grand Canyon at dawn, a tropical rainforest, the full moon over a lush meadow on a warm summer night, black river rocks and whitewater rapids under a cool blue sky. Okay, I want you to really get detailed here. I want you to begin to get in touch with the unique quality of beauty that you possess. Once you've discovered a landscape here that feels right, you might like to take just a few moments to find some photos of this, type of landscape, either online or in magazines. I always have boxes of magazines laying around for making vision boards, but not everybody does that. I want you to maybe find some pictures, put them in a journal or a scrapbook or on a vision board. And so now when you choose clothes, consider whether they complement that landscape or not, okay? Maybe put it right by your closet or right by your dresser. All right, your emotional impact. Ooh, Mona Lisa's on here. So in order to stay easily and happily creative in our lives, we need to stay spiritually centered, right? So this is easier to do if we allow ourselves centering rituals, okay? I'm always talking about grounding and centering, right? So this journal exercise is called Knowing That I Am a Masterpiece. If you were a portrait, such as the Mona Lisa here, what would you be feeling and thinking? Where would you be sitting? Would you be standing, reclining? What type of feeling would you give viewers knowing that you are a masterpiece? If you were a song, what type of feeling would you give the listener? If you had lyrics, what would they be about? What instruments would be featured during this song? Knowing that you are a masterpiece, if you were a movie, what genre would you be? What would the main character really want? Or what lesson would she or he learn? Where would the movie be set? What themes or motifs would appear in the film? Knowing that you are a masterpiece, if you were a novel, what genre would you be? What time period would you be set in? What would your message or philosophy be? And what mood would you give the reader? And lastly, for this journal exercise, knowing that you are a masterpiece, if you were a poem, what words would compose you? Or if you don't want to write a poem, what are some of the main words that you would include? Like if you were just doing like a word collage. I want you to think about this, you guys, because you are masterpieces. And again, this helps you get centered in with what your inner essence is. We should be doing stuff like this, a couple times a year, these deep dives. So now that you have a clearer picture of the type of message that you feel you visually and emotionally convey, I want you to take a moment to integrate this picture in your mind. Okay, what are 5 ways you might playfully integrate your emotional signature through your wardrobe? What are 5 wardrobe choices you might make to highlight and amplify your emotional impact? What are 5 wardrobe choices that just might be fun for you? Leave everything else aside. What's fun, you guys? What aspects of your current wardrobe feel like they're in alignment with your essence? What aspects of it feel like they're not in alignment with your essence? These are important questions before we dig into magical workings, right? Okay. I got a Starbucks this morning. I'm in the Twin Cities. I think like a lot of the Starbucks are open, thank goodness. All right. What are 5 ways to improve your life by honoring your unique beauty through your wardrobe choices every day? This is a good opportunity to share the essence of who you are through what you wear, but do do your best to avoid the cultural traps of letting your appearance become your identity, right? There's a lot of that nowadays. You got to be careful with that. Oh, I just seen in the presentation my pen came off. There we go. I hope I fixed it. No, I didn't. We'll just take this off. All right. Okay, so you want to be able to walk in a room in PJs if needed and still be authentic and confident. You are an interplay of elements. So, mystical cosmologies, healing modalities, astrology, everything from acupuncture to feng shui. I was going to say feng shui, and so my mouth was getting ready on the acupuncture. So, anyways, the point is the elements of nature do play a leading role here, and magical fashion is really no different, you guys. What elements, kind of dominate your aesthetic, right? How do they interact with each other? How can you utilize fashion choices that draw on these elements to enhance your beauty and help magnetize the conditions you desire, manifest your goals, right? What's your sun sign? This is where we're going to get into astrology. Now, I'm going sun. A lot of people will go rising, but I think when it comes to fashionista work, we need to look at our sun. Okay, the element related to your sun sign is really just the tip of the iceberg, of course, but it does reveal a lot. The sun is the most powerful influence, elementally speaking. It has to do with how your nature seeks to express itself in the world. So, wardrobe selections are just to awaken you to possibilities. So, let's take a look. I'm going to break down the elements here. So we're going to start with the earth element, and I'm going to have some charts. So if you guys don't know what your sun sign is, I'd be shocked, but I have some charts. But if you are in a sun sign that is an earth element, earth signs really enjoy connecting with nature and the physical world. You're usually people that feel at home gardening, walking in nature, just enjoying sensual pleasures, food, textures, scents. So Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are earth signs. If you're an earth sign, you may enjoy earth tones like shades of earthy purple, brown, terracotta, tan. You probably enjoy cozy, comfy, nature-inspired styles. Earthly gems like agate, jasper, carnelian. Those work for you. Natural fabrics like cotton and bamboo. Keep this in mind when we're talking a little bit later about wardrobing. Let's talk about air signs for a minute. Air signs are all about like thoughts, words, the imagination. Your mind moves very, very quickly, just like a breeze, and you have a very particular fondness for winged creatures and flying vehicles, right? So, air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. My sun is an Aquarius, by the way. If you're an air sign, you're probably, I would say, very airy in terms of color. So, white, off white, silver, sky blue, light gray, simple, breezy styles, very airy gems like quartz, fluorite, Larimer, flip flops, sandals, things that sparkle or shine. This is your wheelhouse, you guys, if you're in an air sign. Water. Water signs are very emotional and intuitive. Dreams, underwater scenes, water creatures, fluid movements all kind of belong in this realm. So, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are water signs. Watery colors, blue, black, green, white, dramatic or mermaid inspired styles, right? Watery gems like aquamarines, sodalite, moonstone. Fabrics, draped and cascading fabrics work really well for water signs. Fire signs, excuse me. Fire signs express passion, right? And they shine kind of a light brightly in the world like flames. You usually enjoy dancing, any kind of movement, really, and just kind of glowing radiantly for everybody to see. Fire signs are Leo, Sag, and Aries. I'm a Leo rising with a Sag moon, so I have a lot of fire in addition to my air element. Um, and you guys look at that too. Look at your sun, but also look at your rising. Okay. Anyways, so fiery colors here, reds, pinks, oranges, very fun, sassy, sparkly, and daring styles, very fiery gems like opal, ruby, tiger's eye, very daring, unique ensembles and things you can dance and work well for fire. We're going to get into metal and wood in a minute, but those are two additional elements. But I didn't want to confuse you because we're kind of in Western. We're going to be incorporating some Vedic here. Let's talk more about fire fashions. Whew. All right, like I said, fire people really like to dance, express, sparkle, shine, and kind of be center stage. You have a lot of passion and you feel in your element when you're in the midst of any sort of outward expression, really, or experience or social interaction. So, wardrobe additions that enhance your elemental essence, it helps you manifest, right? Include things that do sparkle and shine, animal prints, fake animal materials like leathers and silks, okay? Fun jewelry shaped pendants, animal shaped pendants. I'm sorry, did I say jewelry shaped? I meant jewelry animal shapes. Say that 4 times fast. Feather shaped pendants, oversized rings, boas and scarves, really whatever makes you feel like a movie star here. Triangle shapes, radial shapes, zigzags, pointy, flashy, or high heeled shoes. Really, like the shoes that you look at and they're beautiful, but you think you might die trying to walk in. Those work for you guys. Reds, pinks, purples, bright oranges, anything that might be described as hot or fun work well for you guys. All right, earth fashions. Earth people really enjoy tradition, cozy nights in, cooking, spending time in the garden, spending time in nature. You're very nurturing people. You're very generous. You're very family oriented. And you feel most in your element when you're helping others, honestly. So, wardrobe additions for your essence would be earth tones, beige, brown, tan, those earthy purples, yellow, cream, burnt orange, terracotta. Comfy and natural fiber fabrics like corduroy, flannel, cotton, those work well for earth fashion people, earth fashionista witches. Square shapes like plaid or checkered prints. Traditional styles that kind of remind you of the way people dress in your hometown. Classic pieces, khakis, a very simple pattern dress, a button down shirt. Clogs, flats, square toed, comfy shoes, anything that might be described as cozy or classic really work well for earth. Let's talk about metal. Now, I'm going to explain metal more as we go on. I think I kind of skipped the part here, but that's okay. We'll come back to it. Metal people, metal fashions. Metal people love precision, simplicity, elegance, scientific stuff, or really anything that's thought oriented, like thought oriented pursuits and travel, of course. Metal people have a very uncommon eye for detail, and you're in your element when your mind is really working. So light, solid neutrals, so creams, white, light gray, light beige. I just started too, and I'm already tripping over my tongue. Beige. Dark solid neutrals, so black, navy blue, charcoal gray. Metallic colors and accents work so well for metal people. Okay, so silver, platinum, gold. You guys really do well with designer clothes or clothes that are really well tailored and very pristine. And classic simple pieces, like a little black dress, a great business suit. Round and oval shapes, like polka dots, for example, work well for metal. And very simple, timeless pieces. You don't need to go overboard here. Minimal accessories, very sleek styles, anything that might be described as sharp or clean works well for metal. Let's look at water. So water people flow with life. Your heart flows with emotion, your mind full of possibilities, and your spirit flows into the depths of both joy and heartbreak, right? Although all of this happens very deeply, you don't always share all of this with other people, right? So you're in your element really when you're dreaming, meditating, resting, creating art of any kind, honestly. So additions to enhance your essence really include deep dark colors, black, chocolate, navy blue, flowy items like skirts and scarves, very romantic, unique foreign artsy styles. I would say like, Etsy, but Etsy pisses me off. So don't do Etsy. Try to do Tedooo. It is basically the exact same thing as Etsy. Okay, sorry, I went off on a rant there. Asymmetrical shapes work well for water, wavy lines, teardrop shapes, very reflective accents, mirrored pendants, glass buttons, fabric with silvery shimmers, right? Silver jewelry works well. Dark sunglasses, anything that might be described as free or cool, right? Free spirited. Let's talk about wood fashions again. I'm going to talk more about wood as we go on. I skipped one slide. I apologize. But wood people really love self-improvement activities. So these are the people that love to exercise, study. They love all forms of personal growth. So like a healthy plant, wood people are always kind of reaching upwards towards the light. They're really in their element when they're working out, they're learning something new, they're achieving some great thing, they're climbing a mountain, literally and figuratively here. So additions for wood people: sneakers, sporty sandals, other shoes that you can really move in. There's actually this shoe I seen, I was thinking about getting, it must be my wood essence, but it is like this shoe, it's like a smart shoe. I forget the name of the brand, but they're like 120, $130, and there's a free app. I think the app is free, but it actually not only tracks your steps and movements, but your gait, how much weight you're applying when you're walking, like, and what you need to do to improve your gait. I mean, they're like crazy, wild, smart shoes. And when I seen those advertised, I immediately thought, well, this is perfect for people of the wood element, perfect shoes. Anyway, moving on. Action friendly items, right? So sweatpants, safari type clothes, yoga gear. Really shades of blue and green work well with wood, vertical stripes, floral prints, any kind of shape that's like a leaf or a tree or a flower works well. Wood accents with jewelry or buttons, so wood buttons or wood jewelry. Plant derived fabrics work very good for wood people. So cotton, bamboo, hemp, straw hats, functional features, like drawstrings and pockets work very well for wood people. Anything that might be described as like sporty or natural, honestly. All right, here's a little chart, and I'm gonna try to move me around here so you guys can come back to this. In Chinese astrology, like so you can find what that is for yourself. So I was born in 1978. I'm a horse, yang earth, right? So this is a good way to kind of find out what your Chinese elemental association is. I'm talking about woods and metals. That is found here. So play with this chart. Let me move my big head out of the way so that you can see both sides of it. And that way you kind of have an idea of your astrological elemental association outside of just the Western association. I try to give you guys like multiple varieties to choose from because one shoe doesn't fit all in magic, right? You have to play around with a couple of different things until you find what works for you. All right. So we're going to talk some more about fire people here. Here's a beautiful fire representation. So facial characteristics that indicate the fire element. And this is good to know for yourself, but also if you're reading other people, you're walking into a room, you meet somebody you really like, maybe, look for some of these things. It can kind of give you information about this person's personality, right? So facial characteristics that indicate a fire element really include anything that appears like pointy or triangular, like a nose, chin, eyebrow shape, the upper cusps of the lips. Just the face shape in general is usually pointy or triangular. Usually there's dimples. Sometimes they have a cleft chin. There's a lot of warmth in the eye color. So usually like a golden brown or like a violetish blue that kind of appears to glow from within. Pinkish and reddish tones to the skin and a tendency to flush. Fire folk definitely have this flush thing that happens with them. Hair characteristics, a fire person. So hair that indicates a fire element is usually red hair or a reddish undertone. It's usually curly hair. It's usually pretty unruly. It could be wavy with a lot of texture, but not like smooth cascading waves. That's water women, right? Body characteristics that indicate fire: broad shoulders, strong back, with more of a tapered waist and hips, very strong, powerful feeling to one's movement. So, like, they're very, like, when they walk into a room, you notice they're very strong movers, right? Personality traits that indicate fire, extremely animated ways of speaking, very high melodious voice, kind of a burning desire for attention, right? They love attention. Natural abilities to perform or lead, very flirtatious. They really have a lot of joy in social interactions. They do well in social settings, and they really like to have fun. They're fun folk. So if you have a lot of fire element in your natural makeup, it's kind of a good idea to maybe incorporate some of these wardrobe things we're talking about in in these different sections. Especially even if you're not a fire element but you need the element fire. Say for example, you have something at work where you're doing public speaking or kind of like a performance of some kind or getting in front of people. Maybe you're stepping out of the shadows and you're needing to let your light shine. Maybe you're doing a business presentation, or maybe you're just in a personal way. You have a day that you're just kind of following your bliss in a visible way and you want to attract attention or admiration. Or you just want to be more active or enjoy your social life more or just have fun or feel energized or playful. These are the types of situations, like, bring in that fire, right? Bring in those fire elements. That's going to help you along big time. All right, earth characteristics. Ooh, all right. Facial characteristics. So usually earth people have a rounded, kind of somewhat square shaped face. They have a lot of square shaped features in their chin, their jaw. Maybe they have a full upper eyelid area. They usually have a larger mouth in comparison to the rest of their face. Not always, though, right? There's always the exception. They usually have a prominent bridge to their nose, fuller lips, full lower cheeks, and they usually have like a brown, hazel, or golden tone to their eye color. And their skin usually is kind of like a golden brown or yellow tone. Um, so these are just good ways to kind of identify visually. Hair characteristics, usually brown, like yellowish or golden yellow or golden tones, usually very thick, abundant hair. Body characteristics, usually a rounded belly. They usually have like a very rounded kind of core. Their upper and lower body is, it's very proportional to each other, but it's much rounder, I guess is a good way. Not saying they're heavy, but they just have kind of like a round shape. Um, Personality traits. So a deep desire to nurture, loyalty to their family and home, a love of food, preparing food, eating food, sharing food with others. So they probably host, lots of different meals or whatever over the course of the year. They do have a tendency to put others' needs above their own. They're very calm and quiet people. They usually love gardening. They like resting outdoors. So vacations are usually like woods, beach, things like that, and they love tradition. They are tradition sticklers. So if you have a lot of earth element or you need to bring in some more earth element, again, I'm going to give you lots of ways to do that in today's presentation. Um, Times you might want to enhance the earth element in you, the earth essence, is if you're trying to conceive a child. This is great fertility, elemental energy. If you're nurturing somebody, if you're healing some family issues, if you need to feel safe, if you're trying to enhance kind of a feel of coziness in your home or your life in general, or you just want to feel kind of still and grounded and serene because life is crazy, good to call in that earth, right? Earth will help with all those things. Metal characteristics. Here's Angelina Jolie again. She is definitely metal. My goodness. So, facial characteristics, usually very prominent cheekbones, narrow yet prominent nose. They usually have raised moles, light toned skin for their ethnic background. Usually, they have a lighter tone compared to others in the same pool, right? Usually, sparkly white teeth, pale eyes, or their eyes have kind of like a grayish undertone. Their hair is usually light or ashy tones, gray, silver, kind of wiry and stick straight here. You'll notice with metal characteristic people or metal elemental people. So their personalities, usually include attention to detail. They're very efficient. They have a very elegant demeanor. They're all about cleanliness and minimalism. They're always taking whatever time or money is necessary to do things the right way. They usually have a very sharp mind and a very quick wit. They have this uncommon capacity for sustained focus. They really, metal people can, I mean, they can manifest through focus alone. Notable intelligence here too. Very, very intelligent folk. Um, so use the metal element for, moving up the corporate ladder or the social ladder. If you're pursuing something scientifically, you're learning something. If you're working with computers, vehicles, any sort of mechanical items or tasks, anything that really requires precision and a sharp, focused mind. If you're trying to simplify and streamline things, if you're traveling, communication, all these things fit into metal elemental magic. So ramping up your metal essence will help with these things for sure. Hi, Angelina. Okay. Water characteristics. Okay. I love water people. Seriously, I love you guys. All right. Water. Usually their facial characteristics, they usually have a rounded or kind of a teardrop shape to their features, their nose, chin, eyes, cheeks, their general face shape, usually big eyes, shadowed eyes even. They have very prominent earlobes, very dark brown or blue eyes typically, and they usually have a very rounded, prominent forehead. Their hair is usually a dark color. It's usually very, like I said earlier, flowing and cascading, shiny, very smooth, wavy hair. I'm very jealous of that. Mine is like wild Leo hair. Body, the body includes usually thighs and hips that are wider in comparison to the upper body. But again, they have very smooth flowing or gliding quality to their movements. So it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's necessarily proportionate, but you can't really tell. I mean, they just have a good way about moving. Their personality, it includes very unconventional, romantic, artistic approaches to life. It's one of the things I love about water folks. There's a dreaminess there. They have this deep, heartfelt, emotional experience that, a lot of you guys sometimes have a hard time expressing those things in words, right? And typically water folk won't express it in words. Sometimes they do have a preference for internalizing, being alone. Water folk preferences for lighting usually is softer. They like darker environments. And honestly, a lot of water folk or people tapping into their water elements, they're very artistic and they have a lot of artistic hobbies. So if you have a lot of water element or need to call it in, I would call it in or use it for artistic, creative, imaginative pursuits. If you're following the flow of your authentic life path, can assist there. Flowing with your passions, feeling your feelings, getting more sleep, bringing in water elements are great for sleep. Feeling free to express your uniqueness. That can be hard in today's day and age, right? It can be really hard to express our unique personas. There's a lot of judgment out there. Water helps with that. Stepping out of patterns, getting out of the old, same old bullshit, right? doing something new, changing courses. Water is beautiful for all these things. All right, wood. Okay, so let's talk about wood. So facial characteristics usually include very prominent eyebrows or brow bone, very prominent jaw, very chiseled features. They usually have blue or green eyes, but not always. Sometimes the eyes will just have like a green tone or undertone to them. I've seen that. I've seen people with beautiful brown eyes with like almost like a greenish fleck to them. Their skin complexion is usually olive and undertone, but that can vary too. So the hair usually is thick, very fast growing hair. The tones are textures that are kind of like natural wood, or the tone and texture, sorry. It really kind of does strike you as wood. So their bodies, usually they're very naturally athletic. They're very coordinated. They usually have this very natural kind of willowy or muscular frame, and they do have a tendency to keep moving. I mean, these wood people are always on the go. They're always moving. Personality wise, they usually have a general desire to do things very quickly and just get things done. They have tunnel vision. Um, they kind of seem to have this constant drive to improve themselves through either learning, exercise, eating better, or whatever self-growth endeavor is on their playlist for the month. They're very enthusiastic, they're very idealistic, they're very curious. They do have a very strong degree of natural health and immunity. They are probably the most physically healthy, folks, when we're talking about elements. Wood element people are usually very healthy folks. So if you have a lot of wood or you need wood, use it for these things. Use it for weight loss or strength training. Use it for sports or exercise, meditation, studying, activism. Wood folks are great activists, or just if you need more natural energy and enthusiasm, and especially for health goals. If you're dealing with health issues, bring in more wood, any way you can, any way you can harness that energy. All right, we got another journal exercise. Sorry, guys. Journaling is so important, no matter what your path in your magical existence, this is how we tap into our power is self-evaluation. So I want you to take a piece of paper, number it, 1 through 5, or come back later and do it. I don't want you to think too much about this, but I want you just to list the 5 facets of your personality that come to mind first. Then after that, I want you to list number 6 through 10. I want you to list 5 facets of your personality that you wish you had or that you could kind of cultivate more of. Maybe they're undeveloped traits. Now, I want you to list 11 through 15. I want you to think of at least one person you're jealous of. And I want you to list 5 facets that you perceive this person to possess. Then I want you to list 16 through 20. And I want you to think of at least one famous person that you would like to meet and list the 5 facets of their personality that you perceive them to possess. Now, when you've completed this exercise, I want you to take a look at all the things you've written down. These are the roles and traits that are present within you to some extent. Some of them, you're currently maybe embracing or embodying, and some of them might seem foreign to you, but they're there. I want you to take time to consider each, and I want you to think of wardrobe choices that might facilitate changes or adding dimension to these traits. I love my journal exercises. I want you guys to think. All right, so here's my first spell. There's many spells tonight, but let's talk about this first one. This one is about integrating your sparkle, right? This is a confidence charm, is really what this is. This first spell is just charging a charm. So I want you to hold a hematite crystal and 5 dried allspice berries in your open palm. You may need to hunt these things down. You got the video, come back to it later once you have what you need. I want you to empower them in bright sunlight for at least 1 minute. I want you to then place them in a piece of red flannel, and I want you to tie that with hemp twine, tie it off. I want you then to anoint it with essential oil of either cedar, jasmine, or cinnamon. And then I want you to hold it in both your hands. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to visualize, okay? Imagine and feel yourself being utterly confident, no matter where you are, no matter who you're with or what you're doing. Okay, and I want you to sit in that visualization for at least 5 minutes. And then after you have charged this confidence charm, I want you to take a safety pin and you can just pin it to the inside of your clothes, whatever you're wearing. Whatever you're wearing, pin it inside your bra, your underwear. I don't care. But when you need confidence, I want you to pin this inside of something that you're wearing and utilize it. All right. Here is a meditation ritual for extra sparkle. We all need extra sparkle, right? So, very simple. I want you to light a white candle and I want you to light either a stick of incense of jasmine or cinnamon. Either will do fine. You don't got to do both. I want you to sit comfortably with your spine straight. And again, visualization, you guys, I want you to close your eyes, take some deep breaths. And as you relax your body, when you're ready, I want you to cup your hands around the flame at a safe distance. Of course, don't get right on it. I want you to imagine the light and energy from that flame entering your hands. This is the divine light of charm and grace. Recognize that this light is within you now as you acknowledge your own divinity. Your light, your potency will grow. I actually wrote it out so you can chant this while you're doing this. I'm kind of talking in third party text here, but you get the drift. Then I want you to place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. I want you to feel yourself kind of absorbing that divine radiance. And then I want you to open your arms as wide as you can, okay? Like you're about to embrace somebody. And I want you to envision divine light coming down from the sky and entering the crown of your head. I want you to also envision it coming up from the core of the earth and entering through your tailbone. Those of you in yoga have probably done this exercise a million times. I want you to visualize this energy coming in on both edges here of your being, converging and just kind of endlessly radiating from your heart, your hands. And I want you to say, I am confident beyond measure. My charm goes on for days. My beauty knows no limits. I am safe in my life and at home and in my body. I happily bless others with my divine radiance. Again, very simple meditation ritual just to bring in some extra sparkle when we need it. All right, now let's talk about the days of the week here and the best wardrobing for those days. This again, we're going back to astrology. We're going in and out of astrology here, you guys, because astrology is important. So let's talk about Monday. Monday is ruled by the moon, okay? Very introspective, receptive, intuitive, dreamy, feminine, watery, lunar, right? So the colors that work best on Mondays are black, white, cream, blue, lavender, silver, and purple. Silver accessories rather than gold accessories are good for Mondays. Flowy, watery looks, wear imagery that actually depicts the moon or relates to the moon, like the lotus flower or an owl pattern. Those both relate to the moon. On Mondays, patterns that work really great are circles, crescents, wavy lines, swirls, and gemstone choices. Moonstone is probably my favorite, but labradorite works too, okay? Let's talk about Tuesday. Tuesday is Mars. Boy, that Mars, sometimes I just had a Saturn square Mars. And anyway, moving on. Tuesday's ruled by Mars. Passion, power, aggression, assertiveness, confidence, leadership, initiative, right? Color ranges on Tuesdays, reds, blacks, grays, and gemstone choices on Tuesdays. I would do garnets. I have some garnets on today, but what is today? Thursday, right? Oh my gosh, my mind is. Garnets, rubies, tiger's eye, those all work great on Tuesdays to harness Mars and those elements. Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury, like Mars, can be, an ass sometimes. Anyway, this day is all about words, communication, travel. Mercury is very changeable. I guess I shouldn't, beat on Mercury, but I would kind of look at the moon sign when choosing your color, but any kind of grounded, welcoming colors work, yellow, purple, green, brown. Those are really balanced choices for Wednesdays. Airy colors, grays and whites can also work really well. So, Wednesdays, when you're looking at patterns in your wardrobe, things, patterns and styles with kind of a lighter, simpler feel. Like you don't want to go, or maybe no patterns, just maybe some you know, flat patternless outfits choices. But gemstones, Agate fluorite quartz. Those work great for Wednesday and they help harness that Mercury energy and they help amplify, spells and intents in those energy areas. So, again, we're using a little astrology here for our wardrobing, for our fashionista witchery. All right, Thursday is ruled by Jupiter. As you know, Jupiter is very expansive. It's all about prosperity. So you want to choose colors kind of related to wealth and thriving. So purple, green, turquoise, blue, really any shade of red. I would kind of look to the moon sign for that, but this is a day of luxury, right? So fabrics should be very sumptuous. Outfits that have kind of a tailored, affluent look to them work well on Thursdays. Crystal accessories would be like citrine, quartz, aventurine, turquoise, croscala. I've never used that one for anything. It's in all my books, so I'm adding it. But I personally use citrine, turquoise, and quartz, but have at the other ones. All right, let's talk about Friday. Friday, fun day, Venus. All right, I have a great Venus, by the way. On January 27th, my Venus will be touching my sun. I'm so excited, so excited. Anyway, Friday's ruled by Venus. Okay. Friday is a day of love, right? Pink, red, coral, peach, lavender, purple, white, cream. These colors work perfect for Fridays. Very romantic styles and romantic imagery. So things like with ruffles, flowers, hearts, those work very well for Fridays. Romantic gemstone choices, rose quartz, watermelon tourmaline, one of my favorites. Beautiful stone. Saturday is ruled by Saturn. Oh, you guys, Saturn. I have a first house Saturn. Listen, I have a love-hate relationship with Saturn. And I do so much work for Saturn. It's kind of ridiculous. Like Saturn should just love the shit out of me. Let's talk about Saturn. Saturday is ruled by Saturn. Saturn's a planet of limitation, limits, boundaries. And the fact of the matter is these things are imperative when it comes to our own protection and safety, our own emotional well-being. It just sucks how those lessons get introduced to us sometimes. Honestly, Saturn needs to work on that. But Saturdays are associated with completing projects, bringing cycles to a close. So Saturday energy should feel very comfortable, safe, down to earth. So you should wear grounding colors, black, gray, brown. Um, wear a Saturn charm necklace. I actually have several Saturn charm necklaces, and I wear them on Saturdays, but I also wear them a lot of other days too that Saturn's doing funky shit in my chart. Know your chart, know your transits and progressions. I'll help you with that, but you need to know these things, you guys. It's so important. I could tell you story after story after story of, transits and progressions are divinatory. And if you pay attention to them and get in front of them, you can avoid some stuff. You can, minimize and neutralize stuff. If you don't, if you ignore them and then shit happens and you go back and look after, well, it's too late to do anything now, right? Just know your chart. All right, simple styles and patterns, things on the comfier side. And Saturday gemstones, I love obsidian and pyrite. Hematite works well too, but those are great gemstones to wear or utilize on Saturdays and to harness Saturn in general. All right, Sunday. Sunday fun day. So Sunday is ruled by the sun, the great fire element day, right? So this is all about health, healing, brightness, happiness, simplicity. Wear colors of light and fire, right? So red, yellow, orange, white, cream. Wearing gold jewelry and accents, big on Sundays. Wear wardrobe choices with sparkles, animal prints, lots of different colors, zigzags, star shapes, sun shapes, or just something that's just white or pale yellow, whatever works for you. But gold jewelry usually feels very sunshiny. Crystals that work well: fire opal, ooh, so pretty. Sunstone, amber, topaz, mystic topaz. Go to an antique shop. You'll probably find some mystic topaz from the 70s and 80s there at a very affordable price. I love mystic topaz. Okay, now let's switch gears here and talk about, right now we're in the winter. We had the winter solstice. Today is Yule. But, we still have a continuation of that. I believe today is Odin's Day in Norse paganism. But there's, the 12 to 13 nights of Yule. We're going to be going through this through January 2nd. So you can still utilize this. But great colors right now through January 2nd: red, white, green, purple, blue. cozy and warm styles, very festive traditional styles. Crystals that work well right now: bloodstone, sunstone, star sapphire, gold accents, and the scents that you should be utilizing: cinnamon, clove, and frankincense. You can use that on your altar. You can use that as a perfume, because we are talking about fashionista witchery tonight. So really perfume, I use cinnamon and clove perfume. I've used frankincense perfume. Use it. We have the New Year's lunar coming up. I do have a community group New Year's service this year. It's $25 to join. Check it out on the website. I love communal spell work. It's going to be a big production. I'm making this beautiful glitter word collage. So everybody who's participating is giving me one word, just one word, as they enter 2026 that they really want to kind of call in influence for. So I'm very excited about that. Check it out. But New Year's, Chinese dragons. I want you to, of course, maybe go back and look at and make a note of the sign of the year as well as the element associated with the year. You can look at your birth year. You can look at this, going into this year. You can use either, honestly. So your birth forecasting or horoscoping, or going into 2026, the general Chinese horoscoping. So either or, whichever feels right. But colors: red, black, blue, green styles, very festive. Crystals: jade, moonstone, white quartz. And then scents, sunflower, the smell of sunflower. So, next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, these might be good incorporations, especially if you're going out. Although I do have some other spells for that. All right, other things coming up in bulk. Candlemas is coming up. Candlemas. These are fire celebrations, usually involving the Celtic goddess Bridget. It's all about cleansing, healing, protecting, calling in blessings. Um, I would actually suggest during these, big days coming up, light a red candle while you're getting dressed, and dress in colors of red, burgundy, or white. The style choices should be very cheerful, bright, and clean. And crystals that I would use to incorporate those outfits would be ruby or garnet. And scents, perfume: orange, lemon, vanilla, floral. Those all will work well during in bulk Candlemas. Okay, let's go to vestments of power. All right. So, vestments of power, key pieces in your wardrobe. These could be wraps, scarves, or shawls. You can imbue them with energy, say prayers over them, and actually sew crystals into them. You don't have to, have any talent in this area. Very basic, just YouTube it. You can anoint them with essential oils, because these can be used as magical charms. I have a client who has a scarf that is a vestment of power. And I shit you not. I mean, she has done all, she prays over it once a week. She dresses it with oil once a week. She charges it with energy with crystals that she has sewn into it once a week. She actually changes out these little like these little pods of crystals. She changes them out regularly. She charges it in the sun, she charges it in the moon. It is a very powerful scarf, and she has manifested crazy shit with it. So, I mean, this vestments of power in your wardrobe really are amazing tools in manifestation. So, let me move this little box here. It's in the way again. Whew. All right. So, oftentimes, dressing like a goddess whose energy or essence you need to invoke for certain situations can, that's part of witchery with the fashionista world. So, if you feel that you need assistance from Isis, for example, wear all gold jewelry. Wear black and gold toned things. If you need to invoke Aphrodite, you need that loving and sensual presence, right? That energy. Dress more in aqua tones and sweet pinks, whites, lacy things. Lakshmi, in Hinduism, Lakshmi is the equivalent here. And, if you want to invoke a feeling of abundance and affluence, dress more in Eastern Indian style, right? And wear, her colors are pink and green. So these are also incorporations into wardrobing. If you're working with deity or calling in a deity, definitely, what is that deity's associations? Maybe you need to dress like that, smell like that, adorn yourself with those things. It makes it very not only easier to connect, but I think it amplifies the connection, definitely brings more favor. Spells. Okay, we're jumping into spells. All right, this first one is a lingerie glamour charm. So, a magically infused object that kind of shrouds you in a veil of magnetic beauty and attractiveness is what we're trying to create here. I want you to choose a lingerie set, panty and bra set, a baby doll set, whatever you like wearing, as part of your daily under things. I want to go too fancy, something that you could probably wear to work would, work good for this charm. I want you to spread it, on a table or a dresser top. Just place a pink candle and a little candle holder there, and then, light that near the lingerie, but, not on top of it, just near it. I want you to put your palms towards the lingerie as you visualize and imbue that gold pink light that we were talking about earlier. Visualization is very important. The visualization process of giving the energy around you substance by recognizing it in light form is very, very powerful. And for this spell, I want you to recognize it as a golden pink light. And then I want you to say, as I wear this lovely lingerie, I exude an aura of sensuality and magnetic charm. I drink deeply of the bliss in each moment and experience all of life as a delectable treat. Then I want you to close your eyes and feel a deep earthly joy in simply being present in your physical body. And then you can go ahead and extinguish the candle and put on the lingerie. But that's a very good charm. All right, so fancy pants abundance ritual. This is for pants. Okay, it's a pants charm, you guys. So on a Thursday evening during a waxing moon, I want you to choose a freshly washed, attractive pair of pants that make you feel abundant. Hang them on a hanger. Okay, I want you to light a stick of either cinnamon incense or patchouli incense, and I want you to very safely smudge the pants with that smoke. And, maybe have a little dish there to catch any burning embers. You don't want those going all over the place. Now, as you smudge them, you are going to speak to Goddess Lakshmi. Okay. And what you're basically going to say, and you can, change the words to fit, your persona here and how you talk to your deity attachments. But divine light of endless abundance, please bless these pants with your prosperous flow. As I wear them, may I receive continuous showers of luxury, luxurious blessings, avalanches and windfalls of wealth appear at every turn. May I embrace and exude the fanciness that is my natural state. Thank you. And then visualize a flow of energy like a sparkling stream containing very flexible green and gold light filling and surrounding the pants. And then I want you to put them on and see that magnetic flow of energy completely filling and surrounding your aura as well. Again, may take a few times to tweak the wording and practice this, but it is very powerful. All right, next. Ooh, another fun spell. All right, love me and lavish gifts upon me top spell. This is a shirt spell or a corset spell. Just a top. It could be any old top, but on a Friday when the moon is waxing, I want you to spread the chosen top on a pink or red cloth. I want you to scatter the petals of 6 pink roses over the top of it. I want you to direct your palms toward the shirt as you say. And again, you can tweak the wording, you guys. I am loved and lovable. I am a magnet for all forms of lavish abundance, and gifts of all sorts find their way into my possession. I gracefully receive, bringing joy both to me and to the givers of the gifts. I am the beloved child of a loving and abundant universe. Thank you. Now I want you to leave the shirt under those petals overnight. And now I want you to get up the next morning before sunrise, take the shirt outside if you can, or if you have to stay inside, just be by a window. And as the sun rises over the horizon, I want you to mist the shirt lightly with rose water. Okay, hang it in your closet and wear it whenever you want to attract love and gifts of love. Okay, especially gifts. This is kind of like a luxury gift / love spell, getting gifts from loved ones. All right, so here's another fun one. This will be handy for those of you going out on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So, enchanting a dress for a special day or date, right? So, this is a little bit of a longer one. 3 days before the event, I want you to hang this special dress on a hanger and suspend it somewhere where you can see it in the room, okay? It needs to be visible. I want you to create a garland. You're going to take some hemp twine and you're going to add at least 3 rose blossoms. And you can choose any combination, red for passion, pink for romance or friendship, white for just pure and simple beauty and positivity. And you can add other flowers according to their symbolism and your intents as desired, of course, but this is the bare minimum. Now, I want you to be sure to cleanse it for at least a minute or two by bathing it in sage smoke or the light of the sun. And I'm talking about the dress and the garland. Now, I want you to find a small star charm. Any charm will do, okay, you guys? I want you to cleanse the charm the same way. All right. And I want you to put this small star charm anywhere on that garland you see fit. Just keep it on the simple side. It doesn't have to be fancy pants, okay? Some of the most powerful spells are simple spells, you guys. Now, I want you to hang the garland on the hanger draped over the dress in a very attractive way, right? Make it look cutesy. And then I want you to mist the dress lightly with some rose water. And I want you to add, unless you're concerned, if it's a white dress, maybe don't, but I would like for you to add a few drops of sandalwood essential oil. Okay. And I want you to say, and again, you can tweak the words. Radiant, joyful, magnetic, and blessed, I generously shine my beautiful light. I am the belle of the ball and the star of the show, and everything goes my way. Direct as much positivity toward the dress as you can, and then say thank you. Okay. So leave the garland on the dress until the event. And then within one moon cycle, I want you to release the flowers either in a moving body of water or water that is near the base of a tree. Now, you can keep the star charm as a keepsake if you want. Maybe you can gift it to a younger relative, or maybe you want to reuse it in another ritual. So, you might also consider concealing it in your purse on the day of another important event to give it more oomph. You can also tie it into a piece of fabric and safety pin it like to the inside of your bra. We were talking about that earlier. It's a good place to keep magical charms. Just an idea. You don't have to, but just an idea. All right, let's talk about shoe magic. Oh, okay. So my daughter Lainey, some of you know her. You worked with her. She divinated, or she's a clairaudient, so she has her own clients. But um, when Lainey was little, you guys, she was in love with fancy sequin shoes, and you could buy these kits like from Toys R Us. It had all these pretty shoes in it, and she had one pair that was, the red ruby slippers from Wizard of Oz, and it didn't have the heel. They were flats. They were for little kids. She wore those things so much to the point where it only had like two or three sequins. It was like basically cardboard shoes with like two or three like red sparkly sequins. And we kept trying to throw those shoes away. And Lainey would dig them out of the garbage. She was like kindergarten, like 5 years old. One time, and this was kindergarten, she actually hid them in her backpack, went to school, and put them on in the middle of winter, you guys, in Wisconsin with snow on the ground. The school called me all upset. They're like, you cannot send her to school in these. And I'm like, listen, I would never send my kid to school in exposed cardboard shoes with like three sequins on it. I'm like, I would never do that. I'm like, she hid them. And obviously, that's what happened. But it was so funny. We still pick on her to this day about that. Anyway, moving on. General shoe magic. So a number of magical rituals involve charming your shoes by placing, items inside of them overnight, usually, or until you next wear them. So an example of that is, a common spell is putting gold coins in each shoe to help attract abundance. Putting mugwort in each shoe can help with smooth travel, like if you're traveling, especially by plane. Usually, witches will put mugwort in their shoes overnight before their flight. Um, it's common to fill your shoes with things like fresh rosemary and mint to refresh your energy and to also help attract blessings, of luck, so blessings and luck, I should say. But those are some general shoe spells. I think shoes are very magical for many, many reasons, but I didn't want to make this presentation too long. So I'm just kind of some of these topics I'm just kind of glancing over a little bit for you guys. Vests, I love vests. A good winter vest, like a Sherpa vest, I love them. But vests often cover your core and your most vital organs, so they do feel quite protective. So, and they also are associated with authorities. So, legal work, legal spells where you need protection. There is a spell out there. It's called the bulletproof spell. There's also the vest of abundance spell. They're a little bit more involved. I'm not going to get into it in today's presentation. If you guys really, really want it, shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. But if you are a vest wearer, if you like vests, look into that. Belts. I love belts. Belts are all about protection and strength when we're looking at wardrobe magic, witchery with the fashionista aspects. A belt can work magic, and it was actually considered literally magic in ancient times. So usually amulets were worn on belts or on the inside of belts. That was actually the very first article of clothing they're saying was ever worn by humans for protective magical purposes. So in present day culture, belts, are still kind of prized in contests. They're prizes in contests related to things like strength, to physical power, like wrestling, weightlifting. There is a spell out there called the safety belt spell. Again, if you want to email me, it's a longer spell, so I was trying to save time. But they also have belts like this nowadays, you guys. In the lower right hand corner, they have belts with these secret, hidden, zippy compartments. I love those. I have a couple of those because what better way to stash some crystals or herbs or roots, where your belt is the spell, it is the shield, and you can wear that out and manifest powerfully with it. So if you don't have a belt with secret compartments, get yourself one. All right. Symbols. Oh, there's another belt right here. Oh my gosh, Cinderella shoes. That was a big thing in my house when the girls were little too. Cinderella and Cinderella shoes. All right. So symbols. So, gurus and shamans of all ages, even modern ones like psychologists and ad execs, have recognized the power of symbols that affect our consciousness and color our experience of life. And I've talked about this in great detail in other presentations. I think one of our early sacred sexuality presentations, maybe it was the third or fourth one, I do a deep dive into symbols. So, go back and check that out. It's on our YouTube for free. Anyways, if you're curious about symbolism, or something you might want to start using as symbols in your magic, definitely do some research. There are so many. I'm just going over a couple of them today to give you a general kind of idea of what you could use. So animal prints of any kind are very fiery, they're very fun, they add a sense of warmth, wildness, and freedom. Inks, you guys see me with those all the time. In sacred sexuality, sex magic practices, this is very powerful. I also have one of these on my dream work altar. So in liminal space, work. So if you're doing astral travel, lucid dreaming, ancestral visitation dreams, Asclepian healing dreams, all of that, you should have one of these. Anyway, they're symbols of rebirth as well. All right, birds. Birds have long been considered to be divine messengers and sort of like intermediaries, like between the earthly and heavenly realms. They also represent the air element, which of course includes thoughts, words, and imagination, right? So, wearing jewelry with a bird or a print with a bird, on it, it's a powerful symbol to activate your air element, your air essence. Um, Butterflies, many of you might have seen, I'm using, it's brand new. I have my first couple of butterflies on the altar preparing for a sacred fire cast, but butterflies have been potent in spell work for forever. And butterflies as a symbol alone, without it actually being the butterfly, can be used in spell work. So they represent things like positive transformation, domestic or marital bliss, and freedom. Um, I actually do a deep dive on butterflies. If you go to my website, go to the butterfly work casting and you click on it, I actually explain all sorts of things about butterflies in association to magical workings if you are curious for more information on that. Circles, ovals, polka dots, those bring in energies related to the heavenly realm. Okay. And I use the word heavenly. You can use whatever word you want, upper realm, upper deital realm, upper world. Okay. But that's where creativity is. That's where synchronicity comes from: birth, seeds that we plant in life, fertility, focus. So using circles, ovals, and polka dots as symbols in our clothing, our makeup, whatever we're doing, when you're putting your foundation on, do some circles before you rub them in, right? All right, clovers. I love clovers. Those represent, of course, the threefold Celtic goddess, the Holy Trinity, and also luck and health. All right. Colors. I love color. Oh my God, this is like a Barbie. Barbie was big when the girls were little. I miss Barbie a little bit. I do still make 1/6 scale miniatures though. I love it. I will always love making miniatures, especially contour miniatures. Anyway, colors. It doesn't take me much to go off on a kilter here, you guys. I hope you guys are having an amazing Christmas. Um, by the time you watch this, you probably have finished your Christmas, and I just hope it was amazing, by the way. All right, these are some of my favorite colors to use. I'm just using them as examples, but fuchsia. It's a deep pink that kind of leans in towards like a purplish, but it's a very playful energy. It's kind of like a playful sister energy to hot pink, right? But it's a bit deeper, and it really kind of broaches the realm of elegance, magic, and creative inspiration. I love bubblegum pink. It's very relaxing. It's heart opening. It kind of exudes and enhances youthfulness, romance, charm, right? Makes us more. I love bubblegum pink and glamour work because it does bring in influence and persuasion. It's the frequency of the color, really. Forest green, one of my favorite colors. It's a grounded green, right? But it enhances a feeling of community and connection with other people, and including the planet, people and the planet. Like all greens, it also, really supports health, wealth, prosperity. So, I think forest green can be used for so many, intents in magic, honestly. Teal, another color I just absolutely love. That's aligned with the time, I get the thymus, the thymus, and the immune system. I'm sorry, you guys. This is what happens. I must have talked now for like at least an hour. I'm going to check. Once I hit that hour mark, my mouth is like, "Are you done yet?" Because this is ridiculous with the talking. So I apologize. But teal is great for the immune system. It can enhance health. It's a combination of blue and green, so it's very much in alignment also for healthy financial flow. Lavender or lilac. It's a combination. This is why I love lavender or lilac. So those colors combine fire, water, wood, and metal elements. So it's a very dynamic blend of all the Chinese elements except for earth. And so it can be employed, really to help one transcend over attachments to the earthly plane. It can help infuse our earthly appearance and presence within otherworldly beauty and charms, right? So it's magic. Violet and royal purple, especially. It's also aligned with the crown chakra and the realm of the divine. So it's a very powerful color. I like using, really any shade of purple, but lavenders and lilacs especially. I have a beautiful lilac dress I wore to a wedding last year where I did um it was a Cherokee. Was it Cherokee? Well, I'm Choctaw, and I ended up doing a Cherokee ceremony at a wedding, which was a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I wore that lilac dress that day, and it was a big hit. It was a beautiful day. Anyway, so the whole point with color is I want you to find your power palette, right? Everyone's energy signature is different, it's unique. So everyone interacts with and reacts to colors differently. So keep this in mind. You can use some color descriptions here as a jumping off point to discover your own unique mystical color palette, but have a color palette. You need one. All right, moving on. I think I've been talking too much. All right, so materials. Let's talk about fibers, materials and the energetic properties of them. So leather, okay, like all materials that appear to be or are animal derived, they do lend themselves to a feeling of aliveness, warmth, dynamism, right? These materials are also famous for their tendency to enhance one's rock star quality. So I love leather. Silk, I love silk. Silk has an elegant, kind of steamy, water meets fire mystique to it. It's very sensual. It deepens your capacity to both radiate and experience beauty. I love using silk in beauty and glamour works. Lace too, actually. I enjoy lace, but lace, it can be very feminine, sexy, delicate, or a combination of all three of those, depending on its appearance and the way it's featured in an ensemble. It also lends texture and variety to whatever you're wearing. So I do like lace. Denim. Who doesn't like denim? Okay. It has a fresh, simple, classic vibe. And depending on how it's aspected, it can lend like a sexy playfulness or kind of like a casual closeness to any of your ensembles. So keep fabric in mind, is what I'm saying. Um, it can bring different energies to the table. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie, The Love Witch. It's one of my favorite movies. You guys got to watch it. She is like the epitome. When I think of glamour magic, beauty magic, love spells, I always think of her. It's a good movie. It's an older movie. It's called The Love Witch. It's fun. Anyway, let's talk about metaphysical properties of scents. perfume, cologne. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to leave some here with you that I use often and the reasons why I use it. Okay. Allspice. Okay. Allspice draws in love, luck, and wealth. Okay. It lends its sweetness to the heart and coziness to one's experience of life. Cinnamon, especially this time of year, it's very warming, it's heart opening, it draws in prosperity. Same thing with clove. It's very similar to cinnamon, but it's also very soothing, grounding, and energizing. Whereas cinnamon can be a little bit, I think, draining if you use too much of it. Coconut, it brings a sense of sweetness, right? Of sustenance, luxury, peace. I like using coconut if I'm going to, relatives' homes where I know there's going to be a little tension. Jasmine, it's an aphrodisiac, you guys. It's feminine, it's sensual, it's sweet. It has a very enticing, energetic depth to it. So if you're going on a date, jasmine all the way. Lavender, of course, very calming and clarifying. It can soothe, it can energize. It's also very healing almost on every level, mind, body, and spirit. Okay. It doesn't just help you sleep, it kind of helps you reset. Lilac. Okay, so I love lilacs. I will tell you, I moved here to the Twin Cities about a year ago, and the property I had back in Racine, I had just planted the spring before white double bloom Russian lilacs. And I love lilacs. I've always loved lilacs. My grandma Sosha grew lilacs, and oh my gosh, she had a magic touch with everything, anything, and honestly, but these lilacs were amazing. Anyway, I've always loved lilacs ever since I was a little girl. Um, and it was one of the hardest things when I was going to move. Honest to God, you guys, those white double bloom Russian lilacs, that was the hardest thing for me to walk away from. Anyway, moving on. Lilacs are very whimsical, soothing, heart opening. It helps us to see beyond the veil and tune into the realm of spirit as well. So if you are a spirit communicator, incorporate lilac. Peppermint, another one of my favorites, very refreshing, especially this time of the year. Clarifying, it's energizing. It awakens and focuses the mind and it lifts the spirits, right? So it's also helpful for studying. If you're having stomach or digestion issues, peppermint's great for that. I always put some in the steam room. I put a little bowl of peppermint in there. Spearmint, very relaxing and soothing and clarifying also, but it also draws wealth and it helps. This is a big one, you guys. People don't realize this with spearmint, but it does help heal a broken or grief-stricken heart. Um, and I've used it in multiple casts where I'm trying to heal somebody from a breakup. So, vetiver, grounding and masculine. It can help increase one's energetic potency while magnetizing both wealth and success. So these are just some examples of how you can use different scents in your fashionista witchery, right? Oops. All right, let's talk about metaphysical, metaphysical properties of common materials used in jewelry and adornments. Here's funny thing. I'm pretty minimalist, but I do have sacred jewelry. I'm wearing some today. I have my ceremonial necklaces. I have necklaces for when I'm casting, and I'm also wearing a few things today just to give you guys some examples. I have, if you look on the website, I have an occult antique section. And in there right now, I have these listed. It's my opal, my amethyst, and my mystic topaz. I have one of the garnets. I know you can't see it. I'm way far away. I actually have two of the garnets. This one came off. But anyways, the point is, I think, and we're going to get into heirloom jewelry today yet too, but these are very powerful they're transistors, they're transmuters, they can do so much energetically. But anyway, let's jump into, I'm not going to go through all of them, but let's go through some ones that I use fairly often so that I can give you an idea of what the metaphysical properties are of jewelry that you can wear. All right, agate. This is common in cameos. If you have cameos, it's either shell or agate, probably carved cameo. But you can find stones, agate rings. I think I actually made those years ago with Maddie. Anyway, moving on. Agate. It's very grounding. It's very purifying, clarifying. It is wealth drawing. It helps with ego eradication. So if your shadow self is kind of acting up, maybe Saturn or Mars is triggering it, agate will help calm it down. It helps with articulation and self-expression as well. So maybe I should put some agate up here on my presentation table so that after I've been talking for an extended period of time, my mouth cooperates with me. Anyway, amethyst, another one of my favorites. It's very restful, it's very soothing, very cleansing, it's very spiritual. It raises positive energy, it enhances wisdom, and it helps promote sobriety and curb addictive tendencies too. Do you know that during my weight loss journey, I was surrounded by amethyst to help me curb my addictive tendency towards food. So it works. Diamonds, diamonds, they symbolize constancy, strength. They're very fortifying. It does help to align us with our deepest authenticity and beauty. But, do choose diamonds with integrity, both in regard to the physical selection of the diamond and the spiritual intentions. Otherwise the energetic effects become maybe undesirable. So, I have some antique diamonds. I have green and red diamonds. I do have some black diamonds as well that I use for different metaphysical purposes. Um, and they are very important to me. I just, it took me a lot. I actually read the energy of these stones at the antique dealer's shop before I purchased them. I know that could be a little awkward or difficult to do, but I would suggest it. I mean, because you could cleanse these things forever, but depending on how they were harvested, there may be some residual energy there that's hard to shake. So emeralds, I love emeralds, wealth drawing and vitalizing, enhances health, creativity. Garnets, you guys know I love garnets. It's one of my favorite stones, very grounding, very sensual and passionate. It draws and enhances not only love, but wealth as well. Obsidian, it's very absorbent, very harsh and negative energies. It's very protective, but like moonstone, it does need to be cleansed often. Okay. Opal, I have my opal on. I'm actually selling this opal, but it's an antique opal. I love this ring and I keep going back and forth with selling it. But anyway, it is the medium stone, opal is. It's a stone of spirits. It enhances connection with the other world, the other realms. So it's not necessarily recommended to people who don't want to do spirit communication because this is really the stone of mediums and ghost enthusiasts, honestly. Turquoise, it's good for protection, for mental and emotional healing, for strength, for drawing in strength, for drawing in wealth. It promotes synchronicity and flow, and it is aligned with masculine energies, also in the upper level realms. Okay, I say heavenly, but you know what I mean. All right, and here's it's a little blurry, but a little chart of stones here for you. Now, these two are in the shop. These are garnets. I have one of them I'm wearing today. It's this one right here. And then this one is right here. I just took it off because it was kind of falling out of the fur. But um, I love garnets. They are powerful. But these are heirlooms. These are occult antiques. But let's talk about that for a minute. So, cleansing jewelry, number one, they work their magic through vibration and energy. Understand that. These are transmutation devices, and they benefit from periodic cleansing, really, to clear any kind of negativity that's collected in there. You want to harmonize vibrations and you want to harmonize the energetic patterns of that stone. So, especially if it's like a really absorbent crystal like moonstone or obsidian, we were just talking about, you're going to want to cleanse that almost daily. It doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing, you guys. It's very simple, placing it in full sunlight on a window pane for at least a few minutes, right? Alternate things you can do is run it under cold water. You can hold it in a moving body of water, or you can bathe it in sage smoke, just for a few minutes. That's enough just to detach that gicky stuff, that yicky stuff. Heirlooms. That's where I kind of specialize. I use a lot of heirloom, antique occult jewelry pieces in my practice. These represent and fortify our roots, and they can help activate the protection and guidance that we glean from our ancestors and family ties. So, family heirlooms, especially because they carry your bloodline and your legacy, and it's a device that transmutes challenges into wisdom, strength. You know, Even pieces, honestly, I have some pieces that I got from some family members that had a lot of attachments of things like unresolved anger, pain. unforgiveness, the refusal to forgive. And I was able to take that energy and transmute it to help heal people on an emotional level, to help evolve them emotionally. So anything can be transmuted. Heirloom jewelry, I will tell you that with those pieces, they are a bit richer, they're stronger, like the pieces I sell in the shop. I would clean those on a full moon. Um, or with a very clear sky if it's daytime with the sun being high in the sky. So if you're using the sun, I would take it outside, lay it on a white cloth in the sunlight, allow it to soak up the sun for at least 5 minutes. And just I would send kind of that love and gratitude to those who wore it prior during that time. If you're using the moon, full moon needs to be visible, you guys, but take it to a clean kind of moving body of water, or river, a brook, a waterfall, even the sea if you're by the ocean, and hold it under the water for a minute or two. Then I want you to hold it in your hand and kind of bathe it in the light of the moon. Those are two easy ways to cleanse heirloom quality or bloodline quality jewelry, especially if you're using it for magical purposes. All right, let's talk about pendants. Ooh, gosh, we're on slide 36. I don't know how many. I think there was like 40-ish. Boy, I was long-winded today, but this is fun, right? Isn't it fun talking about like fashionista magic? I mean, we don't do this very often. We're always kind of like, okay, do this and do that, and blah, 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 blah. This is kind of fun, right? Because it's like ideas and here are things you can incorporate, and it's glamour. I like glamour. Anyway, I'm slap happy. All right, pendants, a piece of jewelry that sits at the center of your body where your power center chakras reside, right? Either it's going to be resting over one of them, your throat or your heart chakra. So it's usually a gemstone or a symbol of some kind, right? This is a powerful amulet or charm and can be used even for divination, any pendant, right? So here's a pendant empowerment ritual I want to give you guys. You can use this, if you got a pendant necklace for Christmas this year from a loved one, consider charging it as an empowerment tool. So let's talk about that. All right. On an evening of a full moon, I want you to light a white candle. I want you to cleanse your pendant in sage smoke, dangle it at a safe distance from the candle, of course. And I want you to say, I now empower this pendant with the energy of whatever it is. It could be you, your family line, your practice. As I wear it, I magnetize this condition in the most ideal way. If it's, I wouldn't say a specific spell. I wouldn't say, okay, I just magnetize this for money or for love. Open it to divination. Open it to general, lineage casting, right? So that way you have wiggle room with your intent. You can call on helpers if you so choose to empower the pendant. So when I say that, it could be ancestors, transient spirit, deity you work with. That's all fine and good. But pendant as pendulum. You can remove the pendant from your neck at any time after doing this and use it as a divination device. Now, it can be any kind of pendant. It doesn't have to be a specific stone or blah, 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 blah bullshit that you're going to read on the internet. Just please be careful what you read on the internet. Anyways, while holding it in your right hand, dangle it over your left hand. I want you to wait until it stops swinging and it's totally still. And then I want you to ask it, what is yes? You're going to wait and see how the pendulum begins to move. So it might move up, down, side to side in a clock, wise circle or counterclockwise. I want you to make a mental note of the way it moves to establish yes. Then I want you to ask it, what is no? After it comes to a complete still again, of course. Again, see how it moves. It's probably going to move in a different pattern than before. You need to make a note of that. So in the future, when you want to ask a yes or no question, just remove the pendant from your neck, dangle it over your left hand in the same way, wait until it's still, ask the yes or no question, and observe the way it moves. So this is a wonderful on-the-go divination tool, right? Again, I talk about like the occult antique shops I go to, you know, bring it with you. You can hold it over the jewelry. Should I buy this? Yes or no? Will this help me with XX goal or yes or no? Whatever. It's just a nice tool to have. And it's, nobody knows what it's being used for, and you can use it anywhere. All right. Whew. Ritual adornments. Now, I was going to do a whole thing on tattoo. I did a whole tattoo presentation about, I want to say, a year and a half ago. I do plan on doing another one of those at some point in the near future. So I'm kind of skipping over tattoos and the beauty glamour, magic sections today. But I do want to talk about piercings a little bit and some other things. Um, anyway, so ritual adornments. First of all, there's this ancient Vedic philosophy that states that it's very important for a woman to contain and amplify her own Shakti life force, right? It's your internal energy. Excuse me. This allows you to magnetize what you want so that you're vital and radiant. And so, one of the ritualized ways that women do this is to decorate themselves. And they do that in a lot of different ways. So, there's the bindis, which is a gem or small decoration at the third eye. Now, if you don't want to wear a bindi, you can do a daily anointing of the third eye with essential oil or consecrated oil. A piercing in the left nostril, which we'll talk about more in a minute. Bracelets around your wrists, anklets around your ankles, a pendant on the heart chakra, a pendant on the solar plexus chakra, and a hip chain that hangs to your sacral chakra. So these are some ways you can incorporate that Shakti life force distribution for a healthy drawing effect, a vital, radiant kind of come to me type energy. I have always had my left nostril pierced off and on since I was, oh gosh, 17. I can't remember. So for the last 10 years, I have not worn anything here. Funny story though, as I was making this presentation, I said to myself, man, why am I not wearing anything in my left nostril? And I haven't for about 10 years. And so I did make an appointment. I'm going in January 2nd to get that reopened. I'm going to start wearing my nostril jewelry there again. Anyway, just a fun little, it's a Christmas present to me, you guys, a Yule gift to myself. Earrings. Okay. Earrings, they're on either side of your head. They have a unique ability to affect your thought processes and your degree of clarity, and also to activate and enhance the energy centers near the top of your body. So the throat, brow, crown chakras. So, for example, let's say you're giving a presentation. You might want to wear longer earrings with a gemstone that enhances communication in order to activate your throat chakra. Or if you'd like to stay focused for a test, say you're going in for a test, you might wear white quartz earrings or another gemstone that facilitates clear thinking, like fluorite. So, to activate inspiration and keep you connected, you could wear studs of something like amethyst or gold. I love amethyst, right? And you can empower these earrings with your intention, using that pendant empowerment ritual. You guys, I hope we're getting to the end because my mouth. Anyway, any of the empowerment rituals I presented today, you can use to charge a pair of earrings, or anything really. You can use whichever one works or feels most aligned for you, honestly. All right. Whew. My goodness. Oh, we're talking about rings now. Okay. Boy, I really go on these tangents, don't I? I hope you guys enjoy this. I mean, I enjoy it, but I can be a little bit long-winded, can't I? All right, so let's talk about the hands. Okay, the hands are an emanation of the very bright, powerful energy center that resides in the center of our sternum, the heart chakra, whether you're employing them to, write, to make gestures, to paint, caress, pray, or anything else, right? Hands are means of expressing, projecting, and receiving emotions. So when you decorate your hands consciously for intent, it will affect the quality of heart energy that you express and receive. So the left hand, okay? So the left hand receives and the right hand projects. The left hand emphasizes femininity and the right hand masculinity. Adorning one or the other or both can help you emphasize the polarity that will most serve your intentions, right? So the thumb, okay, the thumb represents intellect, analysis, judgment, confidence, and the will. So a ring worn on the thumb can increase your powers of discernment and clear judgment while infusing the wearer, you, with confidence, determination, and personal power. All right, the index finger. Do I have one? No, I don't have any on the index finger today. This represents, a projection of love outward into the world in the form of projects and expressions. So Wearing a ring on this index finger can increase your ability to focus your love like a laser beam for the purpose of healing or, bringing heart-centered goals into form in the physical world. So very powerful, the index finger. The middle finger, right? That represents passion, sexuality, righteous, warranted anger, right? So, wearing a ring on the middle finger can help you explore and express your anger in healthy ways. It can help you feel more comfortable expressing your sexual self to you guys. Um, the ring finger, okay? So the ring finger obviously represents receiving love. So, whoever began the wedding and engagement ring tradition, must have known or sensed wearing a ring on that finger can really help you open your heart and allow yourself to be loved. And that's exactly what that finger is known for. Now, the little finger, I have rings on both my little fingers today. I have my opal here and I have my mystic topaz here. This represents loving communication, hence me doing this presentation, as well as being in a loving and healthy relationship with your inner child, right? I like to be funsies. So, wearing a ring on this finger can enhance your creativity, your playfulness, your spontaneity. It can also help facilitate clear communication with your loved ones, which is why I'm wearing the rings on both of my pinkies. All right, so the wrist represents your personal flexibility and flow with regards to the ways that you give, receive, express love. So wearing a bracelet helps you with intentions related to flowing through the changes of your life, with ease, or opening up the feminine qualities of receptivity and grace. Okay, or go accessory free, right? Keeping your hands clean and moisturized can be a way to cleanse and simplify your emotions and emotional expression, and to clear the way for giving and receiving love, especially when you set the intention while concentrating on the flow of energy from your heart to your hands. So that's a little bit of a aesthetic witchery for your fashionista practice that you guys are all going to be starting tonight, right? Now that you have all these tools. More about rings. Boy, I really went on a tangent about rings, didn't I? All right, so the unbroken circle of a ring is particularly suited to magic, right? Magical intentions that involve binding and commitments, of course. For example, the wedding and engagement rings, of course. Rings do indicate a lifelong commitment as well as a symbolic binding of one person to another. And unbroken circles, such as rings, are used in magic involving protection quite often. So I do have a ring protection ritual on here for you. If any of you end up buying one of my occult antique rings, definitely I do stuff like this with the rings, but I would do it on your end too when you receive it. But the ring protection ritual. Choose a ring that feels protective to you and may have a protective symbol or contain a protective gemstone or be simply like the perfect silver or gold circle, right? So on the full moon, I want you to light a white candle. I want you to bathe that ring in white sage smoke. Set it on a white dinner plate and surround it with a circle of sea salt. Use kosher salt. Kosher salt's been blessed by a rabbi. It saves you some blessing work. Direct your palms toward the ring as you say, you are now calling the great mother goddess. Please infuse this ring with a powerful energy of protection. May this ring be surrounded in the circle of light in which only love remains and through which only love may enter. Thank you. I want you to visualize the ring surrounded in very bright golden white light. Continue visualizing this until the ritual feels complete. Extinguish the candle. Leave the ring and the salt ring overnight on the plate. And then in the morning, you can flush that salt down the toilet the next day. Okay? Very simple, simple recipe, simple ritual. I'm sorry, there's bells. I live right by a whole bunch of, I live downtown and there are so many bells going off right now. I know you guys can't hear it because Zoom is great at eliminating background noise, but holy cow. All right, painted nails. Don't look at mine. I am so overdue to go. Look at that one. I need a mani-pedi ASAP, but I'm going to have to put that off for a few weeks because I'm busy. Anyway, nail polish. So our fingernails can be intentionally employed for magical purposes related to intent, right? Red nail polish can be used as an activator. You can paint your nails red with the intention of energizing and empowering specific goals. You know, regardless of what they are. Um, nail polish can help you receive and generate wealth, especially red nail polish, you guys. Green nail polish, oh, gold. I couldn't, I skipped over it because there was a nail there. So red or gold. Gold is great for receiving and generating wealth. I usually do my nails a glitter gold when I go to Vegas. Green nail polish enhances your heart chakra and your power to give and receive love. Silver nail polish can activate your receptivity, intuition, and alignment with the moon. Light or medium, I would say medium-ish blue nail polish can facilitate written communications. Um, so I have used silver nail polish quite often. You guys probably in work pictures or puppetry pictures, you see my nails, my hands, and I use silver a lot because it helps me with intuition during a cast. Toe polish, don't forget the toesies, you guys. This helps connect you to Mother Earth. It enhances your understanding of any issue, really. It grounds you in a particular energy, or it can really gain you balance if you need balance. So brown toenail polish can help you feel grounded and calm. Green centers, and it's also for wealth and abundance. Red enhances your personal power and connects you with the earth. Silver is great for balance, receptiveness, serenity. Black will help absorb excess energy and really calms anxiety if you deal with anxiety. Each nail can be a different color, you guys. If you're a fan of trends, you can have your nail tech. If you don't know how to do it yourself, maybe you do know how to do it yourself, but you can do symbols or patterns. Nail art has this great potential to be a very magical thing. Um, I have a friend, she actually, um, they weren't sigils. What did she do on her nails? I know that we went in for a magical nail polish appointment, and the poor little Korean girl across the counter kind of looked at us goofy when we showed her the symbols. But we've done activation spells using our nails before. We created activation, almost like runic code, like runic prescriptions to activate wealth. So, I mean, you can do all kinds of things. You just need to find a nail tech that can do it or figure out how to do it yourself. All right, tattoos, like I told you, I'm going to do that probably later on down the road. We don't have time for it today. I've already gone way over the hour. Piercings. So, acupuncture. Acupuncture draws on energy flows and meridians that move throughout our bodies, right? Piercings can activate and enhance our personal energy flow too for very specific purposes, you guys. So in India, for example, again, women often get their noses pierced on the left side to enhance their feminine energy. Their kind of curvy, receptive, magnetic allure, right? So other popular piercing locations and their energetic connotations include the right nostril is very masculine. It's for, I would say, energetic projection, assertiveness, action. So like if you're, I would, that would be a good piercing if you are in the public eye doing a lot of like politics or activism for sure. The left eyebrow is good for intuition, inner knowing. The right eyebrow is good for wisdom, self trust. The earlobes, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but focus, clarity. The right earlobe specifically is good for communication and clear seeing, and the left earlobe is really good for comprehension, intuition. The right upper ear, that's good for balance and for stress relief. And the left upper ear is good for relaxation and sleep. So, again, if you have sleep issues, that's a great piercing spot. It kind of clears insomnia channels. Belly button. I have a couple friends with their belly button pierced, but this is great for personal power, sexuality, creativity. So again, piercings can be magic. Okay, they do open energy channels. They do create energetic manipulations, honestly. All right. Hair. Ooh. All right. I love this imagery here. The girls really love the princesses growing up. So next time you go to the hair salon, you can enhance that visit with intention. Or if you do your hair yourself, again, um, caring and loving for your hair can really support your feelings, of course, of self-confidence and self-love. Now, in Chinese ancient wisdom, a head of soft, like splendorous hair really supports the degree of your financial well-being. So your hair correlates to your money acquisition potential. Um, A lot of people I know, myself included, will use mantras when brushing your hair. I like using the red Tara mantra. Um, you can make it a ritual. You might also want to consider choosing a color based on intent. So I do a lot of highlights, right? So brightening highlights with red tones. Um, they're kind of wild, eye-catching styles can really enhance the fire element and fuel intentions that are related to like fame and socializing. Warm gold and brown tones. Those are really good, like, or really, any kind of traditional or conventional hairstyles are really good in enhancing the earth element, right? So intentions related to, family, nurturing, things of that nature. Um, Ash, platinum, or gray tones, real sleek styles, those enhance the metal elements. Okay. We talked about metal earlier. You can go back to that chart and review it. So any intention related to thought, precision, those are great for metal element people. So long, kind of like very flowing styles, black, very dark brown tones. Those are going to enhance the water element and intentions related to writing, art, emotions, natural and light brown hair. And really hair that's kind of effortless and kind of like has a sporty style to it. That's really connected to the wood element. And those intentions would be for like self-empowerment, exercise, fitness, weight loss. So those are some ideas in terms of what you can do with your hair. We're magical fashionistas, and that includes our hairstyles, our hair colors. All right. All right. So in Chinese face reading, the mouth symbolizes your degree of prosperity. So very luscious, moisturized lips and kind of like those gleaming, healthy teeth really help support a very luxurious inflow of wealth and resources. So choosing lip balms that are scented with like a wealth drawing herb or scent like peppermint, vanilla, tangerine. Wearing any shade of red lipstick, as red is a wealth and happiness drawing color. Wearing a tastefully kind of glistening or slightly wet looking lip gloss, I think the appearance of moisture represents the water element, which represents nourishment and influence. So I think those are good things, in terms of what to do with your lips. There is a tradition, I think I talked about it last year, or maybe it was the year before, on New Year's, of, at the stroke of midnight, putting on some red lipstick and kissing the first person you see for good fortune and, for wealth drawing. Anyways, it's an old, I remember my grandma, well, actually it was my great grandma Bailey told me about that when I was little, and I was like, whatever, that's weird. Ew, kiss. Ew. Anyway, eyes. Okay, eyes are the window to the appearance of the world around us, and they are also the window to the soul, right? They represent both the way we see the world and the way the world sees us. So, keeping the area around your eyes really moisturized, applying tasteful eye makeup with intention, you guys. So, you might set the intention to see prosperity everywhere you look, right? Or to see everyone and everything with the eyes of love, right? And compassion and understanding. So as you apply your makeup, you can recite your intentions, as affirmations. Darkening or enhancing your eyebrows usually will lend authority to your presence. So reducing or lightening your eyebrows will soften your presence and reduce your tendency to want to be in control if that's an issue for you. Shaping or plucking the regrowth around your eyebrows, that's going to hone your focus. It's going to help clarify your personal vision. Wearing a pair of glasses, to help you feel the way you want to feel. They could be glasses that make you feel fun, intelligent, hip, adventurous, wealthy. I'm all for, using, I have prescription glasses. I have to wear them at night when I'm night driving, but I don't really wear them too much during the day unless I want to feel smart. Like if I really need, like, if I'm feeling a little bit foggy and I need some clarity, I want some intellectual clarity, or I'm going to be meeting with somebody and I don't want to, like, of course, bite on my own lip or tongue like I do in these long-winded EDUs. All right, feet. We talked about feet with toenail polish. So feet are the connection point between us and our divine Mother Earth. So, getting things like foot massages, soaking our feet regularly. This reminds us of our primal connection with our divine heritage. So adorning our feet, wearing, cute shoes. Shoe lovers, you're going to agree that wearing a pair of shoes that we adore can feel like an offering, like, a fragrant bouquet that we're putting on the altar, to our own divine nature. It's an offering. Um, so shoes, it's a simple way to get grounded and to activate your sensuality and your feeling of physical well-being. Maybe just take a moment to rub lotion on your feet, adding a few drops of essential oil to the lotion, like patchouli. That's great for extra earth energy and sensuality. Peppermint again, peppermint, like I told you, is one of my favorites, for invigoration. Lavender for stress relief, geranium for PMS relief or hormone balancing if you're on a GLP-1. Um, but yeah, those are some great, ways to incorporate, just our feetsies, you guys. All right, what do we got next? Oh my gosh, are we done? That's me. I look good, don't I? All right, you guys, thank you so much. Let me close this out. I do have on here our Patreon. Um, I want to thank all of you that are, in paid subscriptions on our Patreon. I really love doing these, and having you in these paid subscription tiers allows me the ability to jump on here and do this versus, go pour coffee at Starbucks. And I appreciate that. We have tiers from $5, $10, $25, and $75 a month. The $5 a month tier is going to get you in the monthly communal muse service, which is, a casting service to the nine muses, very Hellenic. It also gets you 2 EDUs a month. It's usually each month I have rotating topics. So it's kind of like a whatever I'm going to present that month. And I'm also doing a series. Now, once the Muse series concludes, I think we have one more Muse. I will be changing that. We're still going to have the Muse service every month, but it'll be a different series that we're deep diving every month. Then in the $10 a month tier, you get all that. Plus, you get to be part of our dream tending group. We meet once a month live in Zoom land, and we do full dream tending. All members participate that want to participate. The $25 a month tier gets you all of that, plus the Sacred Sexuality series. If you would like to go to my YouTube, you can look at older sacred sexuality EDUs. We go into a lot. I mean, we really go into so much. But those can give you an idea and flavor of what that series looks like, that monthly series. And then our $75 a month tier, you get all of this plus a one-on-one with me live in Zoom land once a month. And then, of course, we have the free tier. And for the free tier, I try to put in like downloadable PDFs or little informational videos just so that you have something every month. But I do appreciate your support. Spread the news, spread the word. We're trying to grow this channel along with our Substack. Let me close this out. Boy, I really rambled quite a bit. Sorry. Hang on, you guys. How do I stop sharing? Oh, here we go. Here I am. Okay, so I want to thank you guys again. I hope you're having a very magical Christmas / Yule / Saturnalia. Next week is New Year's. I hope you can use some of the information I gave you today for your New Year's ensemble, the scents you're wearing, your makeup application, your adornments. I hope that you are able to use something from today's session for next week. Otherwise, stay magical, and I will see you next month.